Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here with the Empowered Boss Lady Live series that we're doing. And Dina and I have had a relationship so because she does local television here in the greater Sacramento area, but she has such an amazing background. And I'm really grateful for her to share her little tips along the way and any self-doubts that came up and all of the amazing tips to help you. So, with that being said, she is a two-time Emmy Award-winning journalist. That's incredible. Like that alone, we could just stop there. Like, okay, now, what's the questions? But that's pretty impressive. I had no idea.
Well, thank you.
It doesn't surprise me because you're not only gorgeous, you're very smart. So that's just, and you love adventure. You and your husband love adventure. So
we do.
So she has done local news here, a lot of different stations. Currently, she's with CBS 13 and Good Day Sacramento as a morning anchor and reporter. She graduated from University of Oregon, and are you intrigued with sports? I didn't know you had a sports background as well.
Yes. So I got my start in news as a sports anchor and reporter. And so that was what I thought I was going to be doing. I really wanted to be the next Erin Andrews on ESPN for many years. And then I shifted into news after a couple of years, but my dad really wanted a boy. So we watched the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. It was not about turkey. It was about football.
I'm married to a football coach, so I totally understand that. And so you also covered a lot of interesting stories. What were some of your top 3 interesting stories? I know you talked about, I'm not even going to say, you go ahead and share.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what season and chapter of my life, because there have been so many over the past decade plus that, it's incredible to say that I've been doing this for more than 10 years because I love it. But one of the really big impacting stories of my career and what actually transitioned me out of sports and into news was the Reno Air Races crash back in, I think it was 2011. And my co-anchor and I were down in our little sports nook, and I got a text message from my sister who lived out by the Stead Airfield and said, "Oh my gosh, did you hear about this plane that crashed out here during the air races?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And we were in our little sports cove and we had no idea. So we run up to the newsroom and it was just chaos and everybody was going everywhere. And they said, "Dina, you're not doing sports today. You need to get to a hospital." And so I went to one of the nearest hospitals and started covering the patients coming in on triage. And it was in that moment that I realized I got to change to news. It was just the impact it left on me, the imprint it made on me, the emotional toll that all these people were going through. And then I had a front row seat to this horrible club of people who were injured. But at the same token, it was my job to tell people the status of these people coming through. And it was my job to make sure that I could relay information to people about what was happening in that very big moment in history for not only the NTSB, but also for Reno and local air racing. So that story kind of set me on the trajectory to news. But since I've been in news, I have gotten to do so many amazing stories, both on like the positive side, with the Good Day Sacramento side of things, but then also more serious stories, especially with the pandemic. We've been able to interview a lot of people who have overcome this awful disease. And so there's just so much resiliency that I see happening in our local community. So it's hard to pinpoint one now, but that was the one back then that really transitioned me into news.
And so did you always know that you were interested in going into the news? Like, did you find your job or did your job find you?
I always knew that I liked being on camera. That was something just in front of an audience. Growing up, I was always in musicals and plays, and my mom and dad have photos of me holding a microphone at a very, very young age. And so I was always the entertainer of the family. But I think when it came to storytelling, that's something that I did learn really early in life. My grandfather on my dad's side was actually in the Holocaust at just 12 years old.
Wow.
And he ended up writing a book about his journey through the Holocaust, and what he went through is excruciating. And some of the stories he wrote about, my dad never even knew. They were forbidden to ask him about it growing up. And so he came over and he started a life in America, and he ended up having my father. And I think that really intrigued me and it made me want to learn more about people, where they come from, their backgrounds, why people don't love each other, and what makes people click and what makes people fight. And I think from the very, very beginning, storytelling was always something I was interested in. So when I realized I could put those two passions of being kind of the ham and then the entertainment side of things together with storytelling, I realized, wow, this could be something I love. And at the time, I thought it was going to be in sports because I loved sports. So when I went to school in Oregon, I knew I wanted to get into broadcast. I went through the journalism broadcast field, and then I came out of it thinking sports was the direction I would go in. It wasn't until a couple years in that I realized news was more what suited me at the time.
So interesting. And so what's the best part of your day, and what's the most challenging part of your day?
Challenging is so easy. That alarm clock. That's probably the hardest.
What is it that, what did you say it was?
My alarm clock.
Oh, your alarm clock.
That alarm clock goes off at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
So there is nothing normal about that. But at the same time, people ask, do you want to change out of the morning show? Do you must hate those hours. I do hate waking up. I don't like getting up with no sunshine. That seems very not normal to me, but I love morning television. I like being able to have a conversation and a relationship with the people who wake up to us and allow us to be in their homes every morning. I like the positive stories. I like being able to just feel like I can be a casual friend of the people who are sitting in their living rooms in the morning with their cups of coffee. So there's a give and take for sure in getting up at that time. I hate when the alarm clock goes off, but I do love connecting with the audience. And it's so much more than just on Facebook, or through Twitter. I feel like I've actually really created such a relationship with a lot of viewers, but also the community members who we got an interview. So I think my favorite part of the job is learning all of these incredible people's stories and then getting to share that with other people and kind of spreading those stories of resiliency and people who have come here from other countries and opened a restaurant, or, teachers who are doing the most, especially in hard times like this, and medical achievements. I mean, it's just, we have such an incredible opportunity to tell really positive stories. And so there's a part of me that would never give up the early alarm clock, because I want to be able to be on this side of those stories for sure.
So are you a morning person or an evening person naturally?
I used to be a night person. When I did sports, I did the evening shows, and I was at work until midnight. So I wasn't going to bed till 3 a.m. every day. And that's when I was convinced I would never be a morning person. But now I cherish my mornings so much. I love waking up and being able to just find out about the world early and kind of set my tone for the day and really hit the ground running with the busiest part of my day in the morning, and then being able to relax in the afternoon. I've learned to really appreciate what that time gives me. So I would say I'm a morning person, but it took me a while to get there.
That's a great answer. And I wanted to ask you as well, who has mentored you? So this show is also about sharing tips, but we also have been mentored, like either personally or professionally. Who has had a big impact on your life and really helped influence you?
I will actually say someone in this local market, Christina Mendonca. She is someone who I had the pleasure of working with during my time at News 10 several years ago. And she has been a light for me in the career side of things, but also you learn to grow relationships and then they become your personal best friend also. But I think finding women, Kelly DeMarco also, finding women who champion for each other on the professional side, it's been invaluable. I think especially in the industry that we're in. When you start out, you're climbing this ladder and you're trying to get to the next position and the next station and the next big city. And with every climb comes usually a lot of competition and people who don't necessarily want to see you succeed and excel beyond what they've been able to do. So I feel like once I got to Sacramento, that had kind of stopped for me. This is where the buck stopped. This is where I learned how to appreciate where I was at in my career professionally, but also in my personal life. And Some of the local news women have been great mentors for me. So Kelly and Christina among those. But then on the personal side of things, I would say people like you, Lorianne, being able to have, just the positive spirit and that energy. It's really important. If you want to have a good day and you want to have positive thoughts, you need to surround yourself with people who are like that. And so I owe a lot of that to people like you and just the other really wonderful, strong women who we have here locally. And then of course, personally, my mom and dad too, they've been my biggest champions since the beginning, and they've seen me go through a lot, and my husband.
Oh, that's such a great list. You have a really, and it's really nice to hear that other women in this market, because I know that's not always so. While women being in competition, it's like her success does not necessarily mean that you don't have your own. You both can be equally successful because you both have different gifts. So that's a really beautiful thing. So with that being said, and you're here, you guys have your home here. I mean, your place looks like an oasis. I was telling you that before we got on here. It looks like a spa. It's beautiful. And so are you thinking like 2 to 5 years, what is your dream? What would you like to see happen?
Well, I think for me, there's a lot personally that I want to see happen. I've gone through quite a chapter of professional growth over the last few years. You mentioned the Emmy wins, which, I think a lot of people look at that and go, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And how do you even get to that stage? And really, it's a testament to just being able to tell the stories of the people who are in our communities. Really, that's where that comes from. And being given an opportunity. So I feel like I've gotten those opportunities and I've gone further in my career than I thought that I could. I love that I'm in a city that I adore. And so professionally, I feel like I'm where I want to be. For the first time in a long time, I feel content. I think, for many years, I was always looking to the next step. And part of that comes just for transparency with we're under contract. We aren't always guaranteed a job every 2 years or 3 years. So I've been forced to kind of always have something in the wings just in case. And so right now, hopefully things are just where they're going to be for a while professionally. Personally, I, in the next 2 to 5 years, want to have my family. We are here in California to stay. Hopefully my husband works for another new station in the Bay Area. We're in Vacaville now. My family is in Reno mostly, and his in Carson City. So they're not too far. So I think the piece of my puzzle that still needs to be fulfilled is the family growth. And so that's what we're working on now. And hopefully in the next 2 to 5 years, you'll see couple little kids making all the background here look a little messy.
There's so much. You will be an amazing mom. And speaking of your husband, you guys are such adventurers. I mean, I had no idea. So are you a mountain climber or are you a hiker? I mean, I think there's a big difference.
Yes. So I don't actually climb, like not like what you would see somebody, with all the gear. But I'm definitely a hiker. We've done Mount Whitney twice and a couple other big mountains. And then also we're huge skiers, backcountry ski too. So we love hiking with our ski gear. We skied up or hiked up and skied down Mount Shasta a couple years ago, which was the hardest thing because you have to hike the entire mountain in your ski boots and then ski down. And it took an overnight trip to do it. So that was probably my biggest ski that I've done. But my husband and I both, it's incredible when they say, if you find your partner and you find your match, then you know they're your match, because he and I both have this love for the outdoors. And if we're not outside every single weekend doing something in nature, we aren't in good moods.
Yeah, I get that. I understand, And so what's your next big vacation? I know COVID and I know there's a lot of things happening, but I know for myself, I just got done hiking up in Tahoe and I'm getting ready to go to Mexico. Everybody has different viewpoints on that. So what are you guys getting? Because being outside is important for my soul. And so it sounds like it is for yours. So what's your next big vacation? Do you guys have anything on the books?
So we try to have an international trip every year. The last 2 years, we actually went to Japan and skied. Wow. And it is such an incredible experience to be in a country where you do not speak the language. You can't read the street signs. You hop on a subway and you have no idea if you're going east, west, north, or south, but you end up where you got to go. And everyone we met was so kind and just so proud to share what they knew with us. And that went from the slopes, being on the slopes and sharing that experience on skis with people who you've, never even known how to greet, because we learned a lot of Japanese when we were there, but before that we didn't know any, to even the food and trying things we'd never tried before. So we want to make it our mission, if we can, to go to Japan every year.
Wow.
We were going to go again in January. That's obviously been put on hold just because of what's going on. But I urge everyone to go to a country that seems far-fetched, that seems like it would be way too much of a challenge. I won't be able to organize it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Just do it, because culturally it's incredible to be immersed in that. And we've been so blessed that we've been able to go 2 times in a row. And so now we're like hooked. So hopefully when things open back up, we can go to Japan again.
That's amazing. I love hearing that. And I love international travel as well. You just learn so much. So what would you tell somebody who's just getting started in television? What would be your advice?
I think something that I've seen along the way is people try very hard to play the role that they think they've been cast for, or that they think they've got to uphold in order to keep their position and their ranking. And I would say, if you are not yourself from the very, very beginning, it's not going to work, and for me, being myself got me to where I am. It also got me kicked out of a job that I had before, like, I'm not ashamed to say I was released from a contract at my last station because I wasn't what they were looking for at the time, but I wasn't going to be someone else. I'm not going to go and try to pretend like I'm somebody else for who.
Right.
And so I think from my personal experience, find the job, and this may go in any career, find the job that's going to allow you to be you every second of every day. And if you feel like you need to change for a position, much like a relationship, then maybe it wasn't the right spot for you, and keep looking, because there will be another one down the road that's going to appreciate who you are and what you have to offer. But never change yourself for the position. And I think in news, there's often a mindset that if you're a little bit younger in the industry, you have to come across as somebody who maybe is more eloquent or more knowledgeable. So you need to use big words, and they need to have 3 syllables. And I think it's just, that's not the case. I think if you have what it takes to be humble when you don't know certain things, to ask experts when you feel like you need to become an expert in something, but always remember that you're probably not. There are going to be a lot more humans out there who are always going to be smarter and always going to be a little bit more aware than you are in a particular field that you're not the expert in. And I think that that's important, to be humble. And if you can't be yourself, you're not going to get as far as you want to be. So at the end of the day, if you don't make it as far as your career journey, you had planned, you'll always be able to say that you were yourself along the way, and that you gave it your best shot, but that you didn't have to change yourself for somebody else's sake. So that would be my advice.
That's great advice. So would you have any advice for your younger self? If you could go back in time, go back 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. No, you might have been too young at that point. So maybe we'll just do 10 to 15. We can't go back
I'm 33. I'll just say I'm 33. So there you go.
So let's say if we went back 10 to 12 years, what would you, maybe even when you were 17 or 18, what would you say to yourself then? Because you have such wisdom, but I feel, I get a sense that a lot of your wisdom comes from, you have such deep roots with your parents, like there's another woman in this series who has a grandfather who's part of her mom, actually was her mom and her dad who were in the Holocaust. And they came over here. So you are much younger than her. She has a deep sense of wisdom, and so do you. So I'll be really interested to see what you would say to your younger self.
Well, without sounding like I didn't think this through enough, I would actually say stop being a people pleaser. That's kind of the person who I've always been. I've always been very aware of how other people feel when they're around me, not necessarily because I've made them feel that way, but I'm very in tune with other people's emotions. And when they're uncomfortable, I make it my mission to change that. Or if someone else is upset, I take on their energy to try to fix it for them. And I've been doing that my whole life. And even in my own family, we've gone through a lot of hardships. And I lost my sister to lung cancer a few years ago. And she was 37 when she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, never smoked, has 7 children.
What?
So yeah, it's been a very challenging road for our family for the last few years for a lot of reasons. But I am also aware that a lot of families go through a lot of hardships, and I'm not the only one. But I think I've always made it my mission to take on everybody else's stress and negative emotions in order to help lift the room and be that bright spot. And I enjoy being that person. But if I could go back 10, 15 years, I would tell myself, carve out some space for yourself too. Because I have depleted myself of energy on more than one occasion, and it's not allowed me to show up for myself in the best way. It's meant that I haven't been able to show up for my husband in the best way and for my other family members who need me. So I think knowing that I'm very much an extrovert, but I'm a Pisces, so I'm very emotional. And so I feel hard when somebody's not feeling okay. And sometimes I forget that that person and that somebody is me. So I would say just to make some space for myself to feel, to grieve, to also be not okay sometimes. And I've learned that through therapy. You know, I haven't gotten there on my own. And I recommend 1,000% that everybody has somebody that they can confide in and talk to, because I think it's important to make that space for yourself, especially for the people out there who are going through times like we're in right now.
Yes.
Just not to forget about putting yourself in there somewhere.
Yeah, you sound like you might be an empath. Has anybody ever told you that?
No.
I'll have to talk to you about that. You seem very empathic. Yeah, I'll talk to you about it. You're just running everybody's emotions through you, but you're also a good bridge maker. Like, you're very good at connecting and opening people up, which is why you're so amazing at your job. You know, honestly. Yeah, it's so true. So I'm going to do a few rapid fire questions. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, ocean or mountains?
Mountains.
We can get to know you a little better. Your mountains, that doesn't surprise me because you're climbing them. And so tattoo or no?
Yep.
Yeah, and where's it at?
I have 2, but I want more. I just am too indecisive. I have one actually on my side here and then one on my back.
Oh, very cool. Anything special about your tattoos?
So the one that's on my back is actually a butterfly. And when I was younger, my dad and I used to give each other butterfly kisses. That was always our thing.
Oh.
So in the Jewish religion, you're not supposed to brand yourself with tattoos. And I'm not Jewish, but my father is. And I didn't want to be disrespectful to him. So we talked it over for a long time when I turned 18. And he said jokingly, the only way you'll ever get a tattoo is if you get it of something with me that has to do with your dad. And I said, well, how about a butterfly?
That's so sweet.
We negotiated at a young age, and I got my butterfly. And then I also have my favorite flower in the world is hibiscus. So I have some hibiscus flowers on the side too.
Oh, beautiful. Goes with the butterfly. I mean, so he can't really say anything about that. And then a dog or cat?
2 dogs, Frenchies.
Oh, the Frenchies! How fun!
They're actually
is
sleeping
that?
underneath me. I don't know if you can hear them snoring.
I can't hear them snoring. That's so sweet.
That's
Any bucket list items that you haven't completed yet?
A lot. I want to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. I also want to go to Machu Picchu and hike Machu Picchu. Don't do the train. I want to do the hike. And we also want to ski South America. That's 3 for now, but there's a lot.
Wow, that's great. How exciting. So these are all with your husband?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, for Robbie and I, we learned at a really early stage in our relationship that we travel really well together. And I know not all couples feel that way. Sometimes somebody's version of a vacation is very different than their partner's, but we're very lucky in that we both love a lot of the same things. And so I can't imagine traveling without him, actually. It makes me a little nervous to think that we wouldn't be together going somewhere.
That's so great. And favorite way to recharge?
I'm still working on that. But I think for me, it is skiing and hiking, anything that I can put my phone down and be outside and disconnect. And then also gardening. I love spending time in the garden, watching my succulents grow. I could sit outside all day and just garden.
What's favorite binge food?
I do love goldfish crackers.
Oh, yes.
And seaweed. I also love seaweed.
won't say who, but somebody else's was hot Cheetos. So,
Oh, I don't have a lot of junk food in the house. I rarely do, but occasionally I'll get the little goldfish. Those, I can go for those anytime.
That's so funny. I know what to bring you next time.
There you go. Yeah.
Some seaweed. And so, who or what would you bring to a desert island?
If I could bring my dogs, I'd bring my dogs.
Oh.
And then probably a backpack with some trekking poles and water. And then I'd just try to figure out somewhere we could go that would be a hike somewhere.
And your best friend in the whole world?
My husband.
Oh, that's really great. Last book that you read?
Where the Crawdads Sing. I'm obsessed with that book, and I wanted to start a book club solely off of reading that one.
Really?
Yes.
That's a fiction?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up. I have not read that.
It's a very good coming of age, young woman turns into independent woman, little mystery twist at the end. It was really captivating. It's a good one.
Okay, that's great. Sci-fi, mystery, or romantic comedy?
Mystery.
That's me.
But
too.
I really have a hard time with mystery because I always figure out the ending before it ends. My husband doesn't let me talk during movies. He's like, don't say what you think is going to happen because I know you're going to get it right. So I just keep my mouth shut.
That's so great. And the last time that you felt truly grateful, what was it about? What was there a catalyst for it? Were you feeling like when you were just in that zone? So,
gosh, I would say, actually, so my husband and I just celebrated our 10 years together and 6-year wedding anniversary. And we were on our way to, oh my gosh, am I blanking now? The national park up in Wyoming. I'm just blanking.
Oh, Yellowstone.
Not Yellowstone.
The one where the presidents
Glacier.
are.
Glacier National Park.
Okay, good. Okay.
We were up in Glacier, and then it was very smoky, so we had to turn around and change our whole trip. And we've just experienced a couple of really personal things together, and so we changed our whole trip, had zero plans, zero expectations, literally no reservations, and we ended up in Utah and had the most amazing week off the grid ever and had nothing planned. And I remember just feeling so grateful to be in that space, in that moment, with not a care in the world because I didn't even know where it was going to be the next day. And just being very appreciative of where life sometimes can take you even in hardship. You know, I think I've been able to find the silver lining in some really hard things that Robbie and I have gone through recently. And every once in a while, when I feel like I've gained another element of strength or feel more empowered or hopeful, it makes me realize that there is a lot to be grateful for. There's a lot to appreciate in the world still. And so when we were on this trip, it really kind of forced me to stop and sit back and just embrace where we were in that moment. And I felt very grateful for where I am and where we are. And in the middle of this awful pandemic, I know there's a lot of people who are hurting right now and so much going on with politics. And so I think the last time I was truly grateful was when I didn't have my phone and I was just in nature and with my best friend.
Oh, that's so great. And something that's a beautiful moment. And something that most people don't know about you is that you're also very savvy with social media and you're a strategist. And so with social media, and you do a lot of different things with it. So for you to be without your phone, just to have a little break makes complete sense. So I want to, I know that people are going to want to reach out to you. This is going out to thousands of women, and you are such a beautiful, bright light and such an inspiration. You have such a generosity of spirit, but you're also, you're very young to have such huge wisdom. I mean, yeah. And I think all the things you shared here are amazing, but I also think that there's a broader audience that's going to want to be reaching out to you. And so would you be okay if we put your contact information here, and how else can people reach out to you and connect with you for stories, or maybe they want to do a social media workshop, all different kinds of things. How can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all the social media sites. I don't have a TikTok. I'm protesting TikTok because I just can't take on another social media site right now. No offense. I just don't have, what I say no to means I can say yes to something else is what I've learned. So, but you can reach out to me, Dina Kupfer, on all the social media sites. And then I also, if you have a story idea, it can be emailed at dina.kupfer@cbs.com. But social media is the best way. I'm, with the exception of going out of town every once in a while to recharge and unwind, I'm usually on my phone a lot.
It has been such a pleasure. We'll put the links to contact Dina at the bottom of this, and we are grateful to you for all the things that you've shared and you're just being you. So appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on here, and know that you are such a bright light. We are so lucky to have you here locally in our community, but I know in the social media world too, we are better because of you. And I think what you're doing and bringing some, very impactful women together for this platform and what you're doing is so wonderful. And I can't wait to watch everybody else's videos too. I feel like I'm not worthy, but I'm so appreciative.
I'll share with you when we're launching after this. And so thank you, Dina. I will talk with you soon.